Oh, howdy all, grab yourselves a beer, it is time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today I wanted to continue a series of guides to endgame bosses that I've been putting up over recent leagues, and I wanted to talk about the Elder. The Elder is a boss that used to be a major end boss of Path of Exile, and is now being shuffled off into, I guess you'd say, the category of side boss. In order to access the Elder, you'll need to complete tier 14, 15 and 16 maps repeatedly. When you do this, you'll have a chance at the end of each map to drop a special map that will be occupied by one of the Elder's 4 Guardians. So there's a Constrictor, the Purifier, the Eradicator, and the Enslaver. Each of these will drop one of these little fragment pieces. When you've got a full set of 4, go to your map device and stick them in. If you've got the 5-socket map device, you can certainly do that too. The Elder fight is considerably harder than tier 16 map bosses. In my opinion, is slightly easier than the Shaper. Your mileage may vary, and is generally a fight where you need to have a few specific abilities for various phases of the fight. You need middle tier single target damage. Now I'm playing this on a Fireball Ignite build, so I don't have particularly high single target damage. However, what I do have is damage projection. There is a phase in the fight where the fight will change considerably, and you will need to deal multiple target damage. This build excels at that phase, but struggles a bit in the other phases. Additionally, you will either need a very solid life pool, or you will need to be able to manually dodge a number of attacks. The Elder has 2 instant kill attacks that, whilst you can conceivably tank them, the overwhelming majority of builds, including durable builds like Juggernauts, will not be able to tank these. You really need to build very specifically to tank these. These are the Expanding Annulus, which is a 7-second cast and puts 2 rings onto the battlefield. When this explodes at the end of the 7 seconds, the area in between the 2 rings you'll just suffer devastating physical damage if you're in that area. So get either into the Eye of the Storm, which is safe, or get outside the entirety of it. I'll leave the decision as to which one to go to up to you, but as you'll see when I do the fight, I will pretty much always go for the Eye of the Storm. The other instant kill attack that the Elder has is one that he picks up a little later in the fight, where you'll see him sort of throw a whole lot of sparks up into the air. At that point, he is going to teleport soon after that. He's winding up for a teleport slam. When he makes a melee attack afterwards, he will, at some point, about 3 or 4 seconds after he starts using this slam, he will teleport to where you are currently located. And then about a second or 2 later, he will make a devastating attack right where he is. The way to avoid this is to keep moving. Otherwise, the Elder has a number of other attacks that won't instantly kill you. The Icicle Barrage is the most apparent of these, and I think it's easiest not to talk about it, but just simply to show that off. So this is his Icicle Barrage. There's several different versions of it, and you can see that he takes a considerable amount of time to charge it up. Here's the Annulus explosion, and as you'll see, I'm going inside it. This is his suction attack. Don't panic when he does that. It dramatically reduces your action speed. And you'll see here there's a little monster called a Madness Propagator. They spawn on a very reliable every 20 seconds. One will spawn, and you really want to kill him straight away. If you fail to kill him, then then the thing will leave a permanent splotch on the ground. Okay, so you'll see there that he's got his suction attack. That has a much larger cone of effect than it looks, and it slows your action speed, which means that it's particularly obnoxious when you are trying to use a movement skill. You'll notice there that the Shaper actually popped up in person and attacked. Here's the slam. So you'll see he's setting off the sparks, then he teleports to your location and makes a massive attack. This is Tentacle Tantrum. When he does this, don't panic, just keep moving. Move fast. Here's the Expanding Annulus, and you'll notice again that I used a movement skill to dodge the Tentacle Tantrum, the Icicle Barrage there. So, Again, you just want some life recovery to deal with that skill that he was just doing. Here's the slam again. So again, wait till he commits to his location, and then get the hell out of the way. When he gets pretty low in life, there's going to be a phase change, and the entirety of the encounter will change again. So focus all the time on dodging those stupid icicles. Getting hit by one isn't too bad. Getting hit by a few of them can mess you up real bad. So passive life recovery is a really good way to deal with the damage that you take there. Here's the expanding Annulus, and he's slamming straight away. That's a really deadly combination, and what you want to do is keep some sort of vague sense of how progressed he is in casting the Annulus skill. You'll notice that I've been able to kill all the Mantis Propagators quickly enough to avoid them leaving their crap on the ground. I don't actually know the time that it takes for them to get that off, but it's not all that long. So they're the highest priority if you notice them. Here's another slam. So again, I'm just picking a location, waiting for him to commit to it, and then getting out of the way. Here's the phase change. At this point, our goal changes. We're no longer trying to hurt the Elder, we're trying to protect the Shaper. And this is a spot where, if you don't have damage projection, if you don't have a build that specializes in damage projection, let's say you're all about single target, then you are going to want to have a Decoy Totem or Frost Wall. Even if you don't normally use those skills, you really want them. If the Shaper dies here, you will lose out on some potential loot. And in fact, you'll lose out on the best part of the loot. This is a spot to use multi-target Val skills. And additionally, notice that the Shaper does not have the amount of hit points you expect him to have. You know, if you're familiar with the Shaper fight, you know that the Shaper's really quite tanky in that fight. The Shaper does not have very many hit points in this encounter. He has 10% of his life as ES, but broadly speaking, he doesn't have that many hit points. You just got to keep him alive, and he will channel into these 4 portals. Once he is channeled for long enough at each of them, the next phase will begin. If you fail this, the Elder will attack you. You'll miss out on some extra loot. This last phase is chaotic. It's called unstable. You'll see there, that sort of gives a sense as to how quickly the Shaper gets damaged. Alright, here's the unstable phase. The expanding Annulus spell is getting cast on cooldown, as is the Elder's Tentacle Tantrum ability. There's also other things exploding all over the place. There's just basically a lot of incoming damage. What you really want here is rapid life recovery, something that I don't have at the moment on this build, and I may end up taking a death or two. You'll see that there's things exploding, and it's basically impossible to dodge them all. So there's a death. That's just basically due to the fact that I'm not defensively spec'd at all. The Elder will not move at this point. He's just going to keep doing his thing in where he is in the center. The ways that you can handle this phase. So the first way and the best way is to overwhelm the boss with damage. This is a phase where you can simply wipe the Elder out in a few seconds. That's the best way to handle this phase. The second best way to handle this phase is to be a super tanky build like a Juggernaut, and just face tank everything except for the expanding Annulus spell. The last way that you can do it is to attempt to dodge as much as you can and to focus on regenerating as much life as you can. You'll see that I've got the Stone Golem up. It's for this phase that the Stone Golem is there. It's to provide some passive life regeneration. Stone Golem's not so great, they don't give you all that much, but they're better than nothing. Alternately, one thing that you could do, that I could have done, I used to use the Uberatsuri armor, and that would have been a better choice of armor than the higher DPS armor that I'm using at the moment. It can be quite difficult, after you take a death in this fight, it can be difficult to get back into the arena. That's just because the arena can be really chaotic. Okay, we've killed the boss. Very important that you listen to Zana. To me, Exile, quickly. Run to her, because that explosion is a one-shot mechanic. Okay, from a loot perspective, 100% drop rate to get one of the 2 Uber Elder fragments that drop from the Elder, so one of the two right-hand side ones. Generally, in a mature trade league, they're not worth very much, but, you know, they're something. They're loot. The Cyclopean Coil is one of the Elder-specific uniques. There's a number of other ones. This is very good if it is Divine Perfect. And, or well, at least it's the 15% increased attributes mod that matters. If that's rolled well, then this item is actually worth something. And you'll want to 20 quality it for attributes, so that then that 15% becomes 80%. If, as you see here, it's rolled poorly, then it's not any good. This, however, is a very, very solid belt for certain builds. It's not universally useful, but it is solid. There's a number of other uniques that are quite powerful here. There is the Nebulok unique scepter that is best in slot for a lot of Juggernaut builds. Particularly builds around Molten Strike. There is also a number of other things, but the main one is the Watcher's Eye. The Watcher's Eye is a unique jewel that is pretty much mandatory on every endgame player. If you get it from the Monster Level 83 Elder Fight, which I was doing here, it will have 2 special aura mods. If you get it from the Uber Elder Fight, the drop rate is slightly higher and it will have 3 mods instead of 2. The Uber Elder ones are worth more, but even the ones that drop in here are worth quite a bit. And you'll find that they're excellent. If you get one that synergizes with your build, it's an incredibly powerful item. Anyway, that's the Elder. So the key takeaways from this are, firstly, you want to have some form of life recovery for the unstable phase, the one where I took a death there. That unstable phase is the hard part. Secondly, the unstable phase skips if you fail to protect the Shaper into second phase, the one where the Elder is bound in the center and you've got to deal with the portals and their summoning monsters. For that phase, you either want to have excellent damage projection, so the ability to hit multiple enemies at once very quickly, or alternately, if your build cannot function cannot get high damage projection, so let's say that you're a Vile Double Strike build, then in that case what you want is Frost Wall or Decoy Totem, or both. Frost Wall is probably the best option. So just socket that somewhere. It can be a low-level Frost Wall, and cast it in front of the Shaper, so that all the projectiles that are aiming for the Shaper will end up hitting your Frost Wall instead. Eventually, of course, the Frost Wall will die, but the intention is that you've already recast it when that happens, or just that the Shaper is able to survive. The Shaper's not super fragile, but he will die if the enemies are able to attack him for about 20 seconds straight, especially given that all of those little Madness Propagators shock. The third takeaway is that the Madness Propagators, I didn't stuff any of them up, so there's no splotches of goo on the ground. However, if we go back in here, the Madness Propagators spawn on a 20-second cooldown. They'll be sometimes down here, sometimes down here, sometimes up here, sometimes up here. So there's 4 possible locations they can spawn in. I don't necessarily track every 20 seconds. I'm just try and keep rough estimates of when I think they're going to spawn and go for them then. But you do want to prioritize killing them. Even if that means that you're not hitting the Elder for a period, it is worth dropping everything and going berserk on those things. Get them out of the way before they can leave their crap on the ground. Additionally, if you have any skills that stun, this is where to use them. So use your stuns on those things if you've got the ability to do so, or freeze or anything like that. Anything that can prevent them from getting off that splotch of goo. If they do succeed in conjuring a bit of goo on the ground, it's not the end of the world. It just restricts your ability to move around safely. The piles of goo deal physical damage over time, which is very hard to mitigate. There's very few ways of protecting yourself from that. And generally speaking, you can stand in it briefly, but you will want to keep moving. You don't want to stay still in it for any period of time. It's not really an endurable amount of damage, for most builds anyway. The next takeaway is that when he throws up his sparks, as you would have seen a couple of times in the first phase, that means his slam is coming. So run away, run to another corner of the arena, let him commit to slamming your location, and then move as quickly as you can once you see that he's committed to slamming your location. Lastly, when you see the expanding Annulus attack, or sorry, expanding Annulus spell, because it's not an attack, it's a spell that deals physical damage. Don't try and tank it. What you want to do at this point is stand in the eye of the storm if at all possible. And if the eye of the storm is on one corner of the arena, you can stand in the opposite corner and miss the entirety of the outer ring. Either will work. However, it's best to keep the Elder on the screen as much as possible so that you can see where the Icicle Barrages are coming from. The Icicle Barrage, like I say, it's not a one-shot for most builds, but it does hurt. If you got any comments or questions, fire away below. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you have a good one.